Welcome to Sinkowitz, hosted by the fearless Linda Sinkowitz. She's syncing you up with the latest in election integrity, from breaking headlines to critical updates you won't hear anywhere else. With Linda, it's facts first as she leads the fight for one vote for one legal voter. Stay informed, stay empowered. Let's jump in.
Hi, and welcome to Sinkowitz. I'm Linda Sinkowitz, your host. And this week, our rundown is going to be our guest, which is Linda Paine. She is from Election Integrity Project California. She'll be coming up very shortly. Then we're going to talk about Kansas, Maine, Nevada, South Carolina, Wisconsin. We're going to get to our election and voting terms, our trivia question. We're going to go to national news after that. Then we'll go to vote notes. And of course, at the end, we'll talk about my final thoughts. So let's jump in right now with Linda Paine from the Election Integrity Project California. Thank you, Linda, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, why don't you tell us about your organization and what you do?
Okay, thanks. Election Integrity Project started 15 years ago. We were a group of citizens across the state who had begun to be concerned about how these laws were being passed and why we couldn't vote out the people passing bad laws. So we started the company in 2010. We have trained over 20,000 California citizens to observe the election process in 43 out of 58 counties. We give them a 4-hour training teaching them the state and federal law and the procedures that are being used so they know what they're looking for. We also have been researching the voter rolls at the state and county level since 2011. And the long and the short of it is, we have taken that evidence to every jurisdictional level, trying to redress the grievance that California's election system was becoming more and more corrupt. There were more and more, we call them entry points of manipulation being built into the system through legislators and the laws. And so we've had a civil rights hearing. We filed, we retained Judicial Watch to sue the Secretary of State in LA County for violation of federal list management law. We've worked with Landmark Legal Foundation and sent briefs to the Department of Justice and Department of Homeland showing that non-citizens are and foreign entities are involved in manipulating California's elections. And by 2021, right after the 2020 fiasco, we filed a constitutional challenge incorporating in that lawsuit most of California's election laws. We were reporting that, well, we wanted the judges to look at the fact that this system was put together with intention, because we could show that. The bottom line is, like all the other lawsuits in 2021, the judge said, you don't have standing. So we appealed to the Ninth Circuit. In 2022, we did get standing because our board originally, we just see it as providence. In the very early years, as I drove throughout the state, talking to people about the problems with elections, people would step up in the various counties. In our original board, we had a retired attorney, retired paralegal, master educators, analysts, amazing people with skill sets that I would never have met in the place where I was living. So from the very beginning, we determined that we are a research organization, and we want to get something done with the research. So we got standing because we knew to do it right through the years as we went through the jurisdictions trying to redress this grievance. We got standing, went back to the lower courts. In the lower courts, without looking at one piece of evidence, the judge said, this is just garden variety, nothing to see here. We appealed to the Ninth Circuit, got 3 judges who without looking at anything said, yep, nothing to see here, garden variety. So in 2024, we decided we would not appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court and we'd go after the laws one by one. In the meantime, our data analyst group said, let's look at that 2022 data that the Secretary of State certified and sent to Congress with who was going to be seated in Congress in 2022. And in that data research, we identified that after the certified data was sent, the Secretary of State and LA County together added 43,000 plus extra ballots. So the long and the short is we've continued to go after the corruption. But in 2025, we decided we need to now go to Congress. When the citizens of California can no longer choose, that means they're not functioning as a republic. They're functioning more like an oligarchical democracy, and Congress must act. And in fact, the actions of California are impacting the whole country. When they can change 43,000 ballots and flip congressional seats, it impacts the other states. And we think the attorney generals of every state in the union should be looking at what California did. We are in court with that, asking for an explanation of what they did and how they did it. So where we're at now, we took 8 months of this year working with our attorneys with Advocates for Faith and Freedom, and we put together a proposal for Congress, laying out in our proposal links to the laws, lawsuits, reports, letters that we've written to Department of Justice, all the efforts we've taken to redress this grievance. And we're asking Congress now to pass comprehensive election integrity legislation so that all 50 states will have proof of citizenship, voter ID, um, in-person voting. We're recommending maybe 4 days, a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, so everyone can get there. And we have 17 points. We keep on our website, EIP-ca.com, we have a rectangular box that says EIPCa and AFF, that's for Advocates for Faith and Freedom, proposal to Congress. And anyone can go there and click on it. We've made it transparent. You can see all of the citations. We have even the appendix. Everyone can go and see what have we done for these years, what reports, what are there, what's there. But the most important thing, Linda, is now the country needs to unite in pressing Congress to pass this comprehensive legislation. It's no longer each state can no longer depend on their own integrity when a state like California can pass laws that impact the whole country. So that's where we are now, and we're hoping that government will open up so we can go back to Congress. We've presented it to 20 legislators so far, but everything sort of stopped when government closed. So we need to go back and meet with all of as many legislators as we can and lay it out for them.
Well, you've been around, like you're one of the longest election integrity organizations that are out there. So you've been around there for 15 years
Right.
in one of the biggest states and one of the most corrupt states, and you're seeing everything that's going on. I mean, your work is amazing. And again, you just keep going and going, even though you keep getting swatted down. I have a question. Did you ever reach out to Michael Gates at all? He is now in Department of Justice. He's a deputy U.S. Attorney General. He's originally from California. I guess Orange County is where he had been. Have you reached out to his office at all?
Not yet directly. So we've got a long list of wanting to reach out to everyone. We've provided the proposal to every California legislator and to
Hmm.
legislators throughout. But we haven't met in person yet. But I will
Okay.
write his name down and I will reach out to him though.
Oh, no, definitely reach out to him. That would be great because I know he has done phenomenal work. And also the fact that we are all pushing for voter ID and to be US citizens. You would think that's common sense. I mean, but we are absolutely seeing from I don't even know how to put this nicely, but the lunatic left that you would think we were, trying to blow up the country or something by actually only having US citizens vote. Are you seeing the same thing out in California that we are seeing here in Connecticut?
We've been seeing that since 2012, our very first time out. And what we identified very quickly that it appeared that there was in fact a coordinated effort, and we didn't know by who at the time. We began to see it was potentially the deep state by 2015 when we had our
Mhm.
civil rights hearing. But bottom line, it appears that our election process is being manipulated. It's being used like a Trojan horse for outside entities, foreign agencies, foreign governments, foreigners to run for office, be elected to office, and when they get in office with that power they have, they begin to change the whole concept of the United States of America. We are a
Mhm.
republic based on self-governance, but when someone comes in and decides to run, for instance, as a communist or socialist, that is not our form of government, and that should be challenged in
Yeah.
the courts as uncompatible. So we have to look at this very seriously now, that our 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 very system of choosing our representatives is so manipulated that we're no longer choosing in California.
Which is it. I mean, we're seeing it in a lot of places. We're closer to New York, obviously, than you are. And I'll tell you, it's horrific to even think that we have a communist who is going to be running New York City with who has absolutely no experience, by the way, of running even a business, let alone everything that's going on with that.
Well, the question
That
is it
is,
constitutional for a communist to be in a position of over a mayor or governor? And that's really, I think, what the Supreme Court's going to have to answer that question. Uh, just because someone wants to live under communist leadership, can they simply change our system of government, put a communist in? And I think that's a clashing force of nature, and we've got to address it.
yeah, I believe there's going to be a number of things that may go on even before January concerning New York. And I'm really hoping that they will actually look at his application to become a U.S. citizen. As far
Yeah,
as we know, he was involved with socialist groups when he signed it, saying that he wasn't, and there's documentation that he was. So we have a lot of things we need to look at, but the big thing is getting California and the attention to the voter rolls out there and how everything is being manipulated. So I know you're doing a phenomenal job with that and bringing things forward. So we're going to have your link. We'll have that put up on the screen so people can go there. Also, go to your website. And what is the big message that you would like to tell people who are watching the show right now?
I think the most important message is to really understand that the propaganda that Californians are a bunch of knuckleheads who voted to destroy themselves is simply that propaganda. We have been
Mhm.
working for 15 years to address this and document it. Our attorneys tell us that we have the best depth and breadth of documented evidence of a corrupt election system, and that was done by California citizens. So please trust that what we're providing you on our website is real. It's happening in your state. And unless we
Mhm.
all work together, all 50 states, to ask Congress to pass comprehensive election integrity legislation, every state will become California through the same bad laws.
Oh, I certainly believe we are going to be able to make the changes, with organizations like yourself out there, and also what we're working on. We're gonna do it. We are absolutely going to do it. We're going to get our country back to what the founders of our country actually wanted us to be.
I agree with
So,
you. I agree with you.
so thank you so much, Linda Paine, for coming on. We truly appreciate your being here today.
Thank you, Linda. I appreciate being here as well.
Okay, well, we're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back.
At Fight Voter Fraud, we work to ensure every legal vote is counted, and no unlawful vote ever diminishes the voice of we the people. We're fighting for you, in courtrooms and communities nationwide, to protect transparency, accountability, and fairness in every election. Our mission is simple: one vote for one legal voter. This is our country, this is our vote, let's protect it together.
Hi, and welcome back to Sinkowitz. I'm Linda Sinkowitz. Want to thank Linda Paine again, our guest, for coming on. I mean, like I said, she's been around 15 years. They've got lots and lots and lots of information on California and a lot of different things nationally that need to be done. So thank you, Linda Paine. So now we're going to go on to our first state. Our first state today is Kansas. And I actually have this story from two different sources, and I'm going to read both their headlines. One is from Fox News, and the other is from the Kansas Reflector, and this is all from November 5th of 2025. So the first one is Kansas mayor hit with criminal charges for allegedly voting as non-citizen in several elections. And the other headline was Kansas mayor charged with alleged voter fraud. State leader says hundreds more expected. All right, so the Attorney General of Kansas, which is Chris Kobach, said that Joe Cibolas, who garnered nearly 83% of the vote from Tuesday's election as a second term as Coldwater mayor, was charged with 3 counts of voting without being qualified and 3 counts of election perjury. Both are felony charges. So Coldwater City Council called an emergency meeting on November 5th, 2025 at 12:40 p.m. once it became aware of the charges. Now, Joe Sabalas is not a U.S. citizen. He's a citizen of Mexico. He's been the mayor there. So he was also previously, he served as a councilman. So the Attorney General believes this is just the tip of the iceberg for non-citizen voting. And he, Chris Kobach, used to be the Secretary of State in Kansas before he was the Attorney General. Can you believe it? I think I read another story where the way it became aware that he was a non-citizen is that he actually applied for citizenship recently. Ding, 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 a red flag. Wonder how they're going to work all of that stuff out. I mean, having all that time is having him as mayor and all the decisions that were made that he could not legally make. So they have quite a mess in Kansas, in Coldwater, Kansas right now. All right, so now we're going to go on to Maine. Maine, this is from the Maine Monitor from November 5th, 2025. Maine rejects voter ID and absentee voting limits. Now, I know we've talked about this on the program. We were really happy that it was actually on the ballot to actually have to show voter ID. So voter ID for Maine brought the proposed legislation before voters through a process called Citizenship Initiative. We talked about this again on previous show. Fear was spread by the Secretary of State, and the co-founder of the initiative, Alex Timcombe, said voters were misled. The ballot question was weaponized by the partisan Secretary of State, and the voter ID question was meant to have photo identification in order to cast their ballot and would have eliminated ballot requests by phone and the ongoing absentee voter enrollment program, and only have 2 days of early voting. Well, the left had their usual wah-wahs. Oh my God, there was voter suppression if you do that, because God forbid you would actually show an ID on who you are and that you're a U.S. citizen. We thought we had a chance in Maine, but next time we'll get it done. Okay, so now we're going to go on to Nevada. The source is News 4, and this is also from November 5th, 2025. In Nevada, election quirk, high card draw breaks tie in rural Washoe County trustee contest. So the winner, he had the 7 of diamonds, and the loser had the 5 of clubs. The winner of the election for the trustee of the Gerlach General Improvement District was actually determined by a high card draw by candidates. Well, both Carl Kopech and Seth Schrenzel both received 67 votes and had tied for third in 2024, selected from a deck of shuffled cards. This was, of course, following a coin toss determined to pick who was going to draw first, and that was the Washoe Registrar of Voters, Andrew McDonald. He then opened a new deck of cards, fanned them out across the table, And then the two candidates drew their cards. Well, both were friends and they were happy with turnout. The last time there was a tie was in 2018, but one of the candidates didn't show up for the tie-breaking ceremony, so the one that showed was declared the winner by default. This is how they solve the ties in Nevada. Coin toss, deck of cards, pick a card, and of course in 2018, if one of them doesn't show, you're the winner because you showed up. It's interesting. I guess it works. So I guess as long as it works. Well, now we're going to go on to South Carolina. South Carolina, this is from WYFF NBC, and this is from November 7th. Authorities investigate allegations against poll managers in Spartan County. So Spartan County election officials have announced that law enforcement is investigating allegations against some poll managers, focusing on potential conflicts of interest as outlined in the poll manager's handbook. In a statement, the director of the county's voter registration and elections pointed to a section of the handbook which states, quote, "Poll managers may not be a candidate or the spouse, parent, child, brother, or sister of a candidate at any polling place where the candidate's name appears on the ballot," unquote. It's pretty specific. So no other information was available, but if that was pointed out, I'm sure it's going to be easy to prove where the violations were. Interesting. Now we're going on to Wisconsin. This is from NBC 12, and this was also on November 5th, 2025. Wisconsin lawmakers move ahead with election complaint charges. So Wisconsin Republicans at the Capitol are taking their first steps to change how the state's election commission handles election complaints. The plan would stop the Wisconsin Elections Commission from dismissing election complaints when the voters accuse the election commission itself of making a mistake or wrongdoing. So I'm guessing they don't have something in there that covers it. Just like in Michigan, remember when the Secretary of State, who's running now for governor, made her announcement in the Capitol building, which is against the election laws, but the only one who can actually report it would be the Secretary of State. So she would have had to have ratted out herself in order to have the charges stick. So they're working, hopefully they're working on something in Michigan for that. But obviously Wisconsin has an issue if they have to be bringing this forward. So the bill is 585 in Wisconsin, and it says, quote, "If the commission receives a complaint that alleges the commission itself is violating HAVA, the Help America Vote Act, and the complaint raises a substantial question on a matter of fact, the commission must make a final determination on the merits of the complaint and issue a decision," unquote, the legislation states. Quote, "The bill prohibits the commission from dismissing the complaint simply because the complaint alleges a commission violation." Something tells me there's been a number of those that have been dismissed. It also requires changes to how the Wisconsin handles data sharing agreements, how the election commission removes ineligible voters from the state's voter rolls, how much Wisconsin charges for its voter list, and would require the election commission to conduct a non-citizen voter audit. Seems to me there's probably a lot of issues. I mean, I have heard that certain deceased voters that have been removed all of a sudden get put back on, either 1 or 2 cycles later. So, I mean, everybody has issues. So I am glad that Wisconsin, they're taking their for some of the issues that have been out there. So now we're going to go on to our election and voting terms. This is from the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, and I double-checked this on November 10th, 2025. The word of the week is a qualification numbers. We're going to thank my assistant, Tim, for picking that one. Thanks, Tim. A number issued by NASED, the National Association of State Election Directors, to a system that has been tested by an accredited, independent testing authority for compliance with the voting system standards. Issuance of a qualification number indicates that the system conforms to the national standards. So that's good to know. So right now, we're going to start with our trivia question before we go to our break. Our trivia question of the week. Who was the first U.S. president to win an election after the 1920 ratification of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the same rights to vote as men in all 48 states? We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back.
We need your help to ensure one vote for one legal voter. Join Fight Voter Fraud. Request training, get the potential double-registered, double voter data for your town, and donate to support the fight. Visit fightvoterfraud.org, because election integrity starts with you.
Hi, and welcome back to Sinkowitz. When I just left you a moment ago, we had asked our trivia question. And to repeat our trivia question before giving you the answer, who was the first U.S. president to win an election after the 1920 ratification of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the same rights to vote in the 48 states? And our answer is Warren G. Harding. Okay. Well, now we're going to go to a national news. Our national news source is from ABC News, and this is also from November 5th, 2025. 2 Pennsylvania counties had to replace poll books in the middle of Election Day voting. So we had 2 Pennsylvania counties were forced to replace their poll books at the polling places in the middle of voting because of what officials described as mistakes made in creating voter data ahead of Tuesday's election. Those affected were issued provisional ballots and only had a few voters left without voting. When I was reading the article, I'm like, oh, well, it's no big deal. There's only a few people that left, and, nobody was. Anytime any vote is not able to be cast is a problem. They try to brush it off. It's no big deal. So Chester County, which is the 7th most populated county, got a judge's order to extend voting by provisional for 2 hours past the usual closing time of 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Secretary of State, Al Schmidt, said they used voters registered to the 2 major parties, like in the primaries. So they had omitted 75,000 third-party and unaffiliated voters. The Secretary of State said there will be a formal review of what had happened. It's not a little mistake. 75,000 people weren't on the poll books, and nobody picked up on that. Nobody looked at the numbers in the poll book on how many were being shown. Wow. Okay, so now we're going to go. Fayette County had their own issues. They use a voter roll file from 2024. the Department of State didn't respond to questions on how this happened. So voters arriving at the polls in some cases found that the county's electronic poll books listed them as having already voted. Election workers switched to the paper poll books that the county created with the accurate voter data, County Election Director Mary Beth Kuznick said. And the rest of the story is just, it's just all rhetoric, honestly. I mean, it's no big deal. No big deal. Only a few people left. Well, it was only, we forgot to put on some people 75,000 and then go to the other county, Fayette County. Oh, let's not use the newly registered people. All those people that went and registered all of a sudden find out you're not on the list, or hey, you already voted. Wonder how long it took them to go and get the paper ballots, on how long it took them to actually recognize that they had the wrong stuff. These are issues that shouldn't be happening. They should not be happening. So now we're going to go on to vote notes. Vote notes. This is from AJC Politics from November 8th. So Georgia judge rejects mysterious GOP loyalty tests. You got to read the story. I will not be able to give it justice. So please go to our vote notes, go to our website, click on vote notes, and read this story. Once again, you can't make it up. Unbelievable. So now we have come to the part of the show where it's my final thoughts. I've been debating since the election on what to say and what not to say. And I guess I'm just going to have to say what I feel. So on election day, I went to our polling station and I actually held two signs, one for our mayor and one for the people listed on planning and zoning. And if I could have, I would have had a third sign. But I held those two signs. And the planning and zoning, I do have to give full disclosure. My husband was running again for planning and zoning. And yes, he won. He was just sworn in last night. So I'm very excited about that. So as I'm standing out there for 2 hours, again, holding two signs, I greet everyone. Absolutely everyone. I thank them for coming. Thank them for coming out to vote, because we appreciate no matter what party you're from, we want people to vote. If you're a registered voter, if you're a U.S. citizen and that is the place you're supposed to be voting at, yes, please come. The more people, the better. That's what our country is about, is for voting. Well, what I witnessed, I could not believe. It was unbelievable how easy it was to determine the party that the people were from. Like I said, I greeted every single person in 2 hours, every single person, greeting them. And when they came out, I was also thanking them for voting. So the people that came out that were smiling were all the ones that were giving me the thumbs up for the mayor and the thumbs up for the planning and zoning, and yay, some of them would have a nice conversation with me. They'd look me in the eye. And the other side, they would have this dour look on their face. Most of them were looking at the ground. As they're walking up and you're holding the sign, they don't want to make eye contact. They're frowning, they're grumpy, they're angry. And when I mention, please consider the mayor that I was promoting, or also planning and zoning, and oh, by the way, there's my husband's name, would you please consider voting for him? The responses I got were insane. I mean, we hear about Trump derangement syndrome. Huh, it was alive and well in Middletown, Connecticut at Snow School. I saw it. I couldn't believe it. They're raising their voices, saying how they would never vote for Trump's party and going on. And like I said, I'm trying to be nice. I mean, I'm a nice person. It's not that difficult to be nice, but when someone is yelling at you, telling you this awful, awful stuff about my commander in chief, when we have a local election, I mean, I had to tell the people, wait a minute, this is not a national election. This is local. This is your planning and zoning board of ed, the mayor from Middletown. You know this guy. He served 3 terms a few years ago as your mayor. That's who you should be looking at. You should be looking at your local. And they couldn't shake it. And I actually asked this one woman who was on her rant, because the other thing is what I let them just go. And I said, honestly, I said, I'm just trying to understand the information you're saying is not the information that I know that's out there. So can you explain to me why you feel, or here's this good one. I just remember this guy. All the billionaires are making all kinds of money on Wall Street, and the little guy isn't making any money at all. He can't on Wall Street. And it's just like, I thought when you invest, they don't check to see who you are, that anybody can invest in Wall Street. It's not prohibitive of regular citizens. It isn't set up just for the billionaires and the millionaires. And he really thought it was. So, I mean, that was one astonishing thing that I saw. It's just like, I guess before your money goes to, the company you're using, to purchase stocks, they check to see, your financial worth before they'll let you actually buy a stock, a penny stock or anything else. I just thought it was just crazy. And he really did believe that. And again, the people that were just, saying all these horrible things about Trump, it's a local election. Or better yet, the ones that were saying how, well, it's the Republicans' fault because of the shutdown. What? Anybody who knows the facts, and Michael Johnson has put it out there multiple times where you can go and actually read the documentation that came from the Democrats wanting the 1.5 trillion that also included money going to illegals. It's not something that's made up. That's the other thing I was hearing from people. Oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. You must listen to the far right news networks. Well, you guys know all the stuff that I talk about. I read everything, and I like to get facts, and I like to have stuff from credible sources. And when I read stuff to you guys, I pull out what I believe is credible on some of them that are like, oh my God. But yeah, so that was a very interesting thing that I witnessed while standing out in front of the school holding the 2 signs. It's 2 hours. I did 2 hours straight. And for about an hour and a half, I was the only person out there. So I did get an opportunity to talk to everybody again that came in and went out. And again, when the people were leaving, you can tell which ones they were, looking down at the ground and crossing across the road instead of going down the sidewalk, past me and stuff. I mean, I'm not intimidating. I smile. I want to make people's day. I want to engage in people and find out where they're coming from. But I can tell you one thing I have definitely come away with. is there is one party that has blinders on, that has been told by a particular media or particular media sources lies, continual lies. So I guess I'm a little empathetic towards the fact that if someone has been telling you that the sky is pink every single day for years, morning and night, the sky is pink, the sky is pink. And when somebody else says, no, it's blue and there's a sun up there, they won't believe you. Literally will not believe you because it has been drummed into their heads. I mean, this is something that I'm really, really noticing a lot. And we have to do something about getting information out there. And like I said, as you can tell from from the show Sinkowitz, we give you the source on where the information came from. And I try my best to have both sides. Sometimes there's stories I cannot talk about because of, how far they have gone with what I believe to not be the truth. They interject their opinions. Our newspapers and our TV should not have opinions unless they are stating it is their own personal opinion. Where's Walter Cronkite? I know I have just made a lot of you say, who? Walter Cronkite was the best newscaster ever. Fact. Fact. That's what he talked about. Well, I'm going to wrap it up right now. I just thought I would give you my personal thoughts. And I'd like to encourage everyone to go to OBBM Network TV, sign up and share. And we just want to be able to educate people by watching our program on election integrity. That's what we're about. So thanks again for listening and watching. You've been watching Sinkowitz on OBBM Network TV, on Rumble, on YouTube. Like and share, give it to your friends. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.